You're standing in the shop, scrolling through a dozen different plastic welders, and the thought that keeps nagging you is, what if I spend my hard-earned cash on a tool that ends up gathering dust? That hesitation is real, especially when you're trying to decide whether a handheld extruder is the right fit for your small-scale construction or DIY projects. You want a machine that actually heats fast enough, lets you control the flow, and won't melt your fingers if you're working in a cramped spot, but you also don't want to overpay for a gadget that promises more than it delivers. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Weldy 230V Booster EX3 Plus is the latest iteration of a line that's been popular among contractors who need to stitch together polyethylene pipe, repair automotive trim, or even do quick fixes on PVC panels on site. It's not a lab-grade industrial extruder, it's a handheld unit designed to be portable, plug-in, and fairly straightforward to run. The first thing I asked myself was whether its digital temperature readout actually makes a difference in everyday use, and whether the automatic cool-down feature saves me the hassle of manually waiting for the tool to settle before I can store it. Let's talk about the kind of work where the EX3 Plus shines. Imagine you're a civil engineering crew tasked with patching a small leak in a polyethylene drainage pipe that runs under a parking lot. You need a welding tool that can heat the pipe quickly, maintain a stable temperature, and extrude a consistent bead of molten plastic to fuse the joint. The EX3 Plus, with its half-ratio display that shows both heating power and real-time temperature, lets you dial in the exact heat you need without guessing. In my testing, I was able to bring the nozzle up to the target temperature in about 30 seconds, which is a noticeable time saver compared to older models that take a minute or more. That fast ramp-up means you can stay on schedule, especially when you're dealing with multiple pipe sections. Another scenario is the homeowner who wants to repair a broken PVC water line in a basement. You're not an electrician or a plumber, but you have a basic toolbox and you've watched a few tutorial videos. The EX3 Plus's adjustable extrusion speed becomes useful here. When you're working with a thin wall pipe, you want a slower feed so the plastic doesn't overshoot the joint. With a larger conduit, a faster feed helps you cover more ground. The speed knob is tactile and clicks into place, so you can make a quick adjustment without having to stare at a complicated menu. That simplicity is a real plus for anyone who isn't willing to spend an afternoon learning a new interface. Now, who should walk away from this machine? If you're a hobbyist who only occasionally glues a few acrylic pieces together for a model or a small craft project, the EX3 Plus might be overkill. You could get by with a basic hot air gun and a few disposable nozzles for far less money. Likewise, if you need a heavy-duty, continuous run extruder for large-scale pipe fabrication in a factory setting, this handheld unit will feel underpowered and you'll be constantly swapping batteries or waiting for the built-in cooling cycle to finish. Those users are better off looking at industrial-grade equipment that can handle longer duty cycles without the automatic cooldown interrupting the workflow. On the flip side, the value proposition for the right audience is solid. The tool runs on standard 230V mains power, so you won't need a separate transformer or a large battery pack. The included accessories, extra nozzles, a built-in stand, and a quick-release hose cover most of the common tasks without having to buy add-ons later. In real-world use, I found the nozzle changes to be quick, the locking mechanism clicks securely, which reduces the chance of a loose fit that could spill molten plastic onto your workbench. The automatic cooling function, while it does pause the machine for a few seconds after you hit off, actually prevents the nozzle from staying hot and potentially damaging the tool's internal seals. That's a subtle safety net you often miss in cheaper units that rely on manual shutdown. There are a couple of trade-offs you should be aware of before you decide. First, the digital display, while helpful, can be a little sensitive to ambient light. If you're welding outdoors on a bright day, you might need to angle the screen away from direct sunlight or use a small piece of cardboard as a shade. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something that adds a tiny step to the process. Second, the adjustable extrusion speed, though convenient, has a limited range. For extremely thick-walled pipe, you might find the maximum speed insufficient, meaning you'll have to make multiple passes to build up a solid bead. That adds time, but for most residential and small commercial repairs, the speed range is adequate. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the ergonomic grip. The tool's housing is molded to fit comfortably in the hand, which matters when you're